Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? When was the last time you noticed people's reactions to you changing without any apparent reason? That sudden awkwardness, that inexplicable tension, that feeling of others pulling away while simultaneously being drawn to you. It's not in your head, it's in your energy field. The truth is, some souls carry a frequency that others can sense but cannot always consciously process. Jung believed that beneath our conscious interactions lies a vast sea of unconscious communication, energetic exchanges that happen beyond words, beyond gestures, beyond what the rational mind can grasp. What if I told you that what you've dismissed as social anxiety or others' unpredictability might actually be your own powerful aura creating ripples in the collective unconscious around you? This isn't about supernatural claims. This is about psychological reality. Carl Jung, one of the greatest scholars of the human mind, understood that we are far more than our physical bodies and conscious thoughts. He recognized that humans operate within invisible fields of psychic energy, what some traditions call auras, that influence how we affect and are affected by others. Ask yourself, have you always felt somehow different, as if operating on a frequency others couldn't quite tune into? Today we're diving deep into the 13 signs your aura might be too powerful for most people to handle. And more importantly, what this means for your journey of individuation, the Jungian process of becoming whole by integrating all aspects of yourself. Before we explore the signs, we need to understand what Jung called the shadow, those denied, repressed, or unconscious aspects of ourselves that we've pushed away from conscious awareness. The irony is this: often what makes your aura so powerful is precisely what you've tried to hide or deny. Your unacknowledged strength, your unexpressed wisdom, your unintegrated gifts. These create what Jung would describe as psychic pressure, energy building up in the unconscious that eventually must find expression, often projecting outward in ways that others can feel but neither you nor they fully understand. Your powerful aura is like a weather system formed by both your conscious personality and your unconscious shadow, creating storms and clear skies that affect everyone in your vicinity. Let's begin our exploration of the 13 signs. Have you noticed how strangers tell you their life stories within minutes of meeting you? How acquaintances confess their secrets without you asking? This isn't coincidence. When your aura is exceptionally powerful, it acts as what Jung would call a projection hook, a psychological mirror that reflects people back to themselves in ways that make them feel suddenly safe to reveal their deeper truths. The moment you realize this is happening, you understand something profound. They're not actually speaking to you. They're speaking to something they sense in you, a quality of presence that bypasses their usual defenses. Jung described projection as seeing your unacknowledged traits in others. But the reverse also happens. Others project onto you what they need to see and feel to unlock their own hidden aspects. Ask yourself, how often do people tell you, "I've never told anyone this before," or "I don't know why I'm sharing this with you"? What's happening in these moments is that your aura, your energetic psychological field, is creating what Jung would call a temenos, a sacred container, safe enough for others' unconscious material to emerge. This isn't about them. It's about the unconscious resonance between their shadow and your energetic field. The battlefield of unconscious energetic exchange leaves casualties, and often, that casualty is your own vitality. When your aura is too powerful, others unconsciously draw from your energy in an attempt to balance themselves in your presence. Jung might describe this as a form of unconscious compensation, a psychological reflex where others try to equilibrate the energetic disparity between you. What if I told you that your mysterious fatigue after seemingly simple social interactions isn't physical at all, but the result of an unconscious energy exchange? The truth is, powerful auras act as psychic lightning rods, attracting both positive and negative unconscious content from those around you. Your energy field becomes what Jung would call a container for collective psychological material that others cannot hold themselves. Ask yourself, do you need unusual amounts of alone time to recharge after being around others? Do certain people or groups consistently leave you feeling mysteriously drained? This isn't introversion. This is energetic sensitivity, a hallmark of an aura too powerful for casual interaction. Jung spoke extensively about the painful but necessary journey of individuation, becoming who you truly are, rather than who society expects you to be. That persistent feeling of being different, that sense you've never quite fit in, the awareness of holding back parts of yourself to avoid overwhelming others, these are breadcrumbs leading back to yourself, to the recognition that your energetic signature is fundamentally distinctive. When your aura is exceptionally powerful, you exist as what Jung might call a psychological outlier, someone whose psychic energy operates at a frequency or amplitude that differs significantly from the collective norm. The moment you realize your outsider status isn't a flaw but a feature, everything shifts. Your journey transforms from one of seeking belonging to one of embracing authentic differentiation. This isn't about arrogance, it's about honest self-recognition. The discomfort you create in groups isn't because you're doing anything wrong. It's because your presence alone disrupts the unconscious equilibrium others have established. You are, in Jungian terms, a walking catalyst for others' confrontation with their own shadows. Have you noticed how some people seem inexplicably drawn to you while others seem unreasonably repelled? How certain individuals either instantly trust you or immediately distrust you, often without substantial interaction. These polarized reactions reveal what Jung would recognize as projections of the collective unconscious, others responding not to who you actually are, but to the archetypal energies you activate within them. What if I told you these reactions have almost nothing to do with your words or actions, and everything to do with your energetic presence triggering others' unconscious material? The truth is, powerful auras function as archetypal amplifiers. Your presence magnifies whatever unconscious content is most active, but unacknowledged in others. If they carry unprocessed wounds around authority, your powerful energy might trigger inexplicable resentment. If they harbor unfulfilled creative potential, your aura might activate unexpected admiration. If they struggle with their own power, your energy could catalyze immediate competition. Ask yourself, how often have you been puzzled by the intensity of others' responses to you? How frequently have you thought that reaction seemed disproportionate to what actually happened? This isn't about them misunderstanding you. It's about your aura creating what Jung would call constellations in their unconscious, activating dormant psychological complexes they haven't yet integrated. Jung described the collective unconscious as a vast shared psychological substrate, connecting all humans at a level deeper than individual consciousness. When your aura vibrates at exceptional frequencies, you develop what might be called heightened unconscious perception, an ability to sense emotional and psychological realities beyond what is verbally or visibly expressed. This isn't about being psychic. This is about having unusually permeable boundaries between your conscious mind and the collective unconscious information field. The moment you realize you know things about others that they haven't told you, and that turn out to be accurate, you're experiencing what Jung might describe as heightened unconscious participation, direct access to shared psychic material that most people filter out. Ask yourself, how often do you sense deception beneath friendly facades? How frequently do you perceive others' unspoken pain or hidden agendas? How regularly do you find yourself thinking, I knew this would happen about others' behaviors? This isn't paranoia, it's unconscious attunement. Your powerful aura functioning as an antenna for psychological information that exists beneath the surface of ordinary awareness. What makes this sign particularly challenging is others' discomfort when they sense you can see beyond their carefully constructed personas, the masks Jung identified as necessary but ultimately limiting for genuine individuation. While Jung focused primarily on psychological phenomena, he recognized that the psyche and physical world are not entirely separate domains. That pattern of lights flickering when you're emotional, electronics malfunctioning in your presence, plants responding unusually to your care, storms coinciding with your intense emotional states, Jung might interpret these as manifestations of what he called synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal connections between psychic and physical reality that cannot be explained by conventional causality. What if I told you that your powerful aura creates ripple effects not just in the psychological field but in the material world as well? The truth is, exceptional psychic energy sometimes manifests as what Jung might call psychoid phenomena, experiences that blur the line between psychological and physical reality. This isn't about supernatural powers. It's about the profound and still mysterious connection between consciousness and matter that quantum physics continues to explore. Ask yourself, how often do unusual physical phenomena occur around you during emotionally charged moments? How frequently do others comment on strange coincidences that happen in your presence? These experiences suggest your aura extends beyond normal psychological boundaries, creating what Jung might consider a field effect that influences both consciousness and occasionally, the material environment itself. Jung identified archetypal roles that humans naturally embody, often unconsciously. When your aura vibrates with unusual power, you involuntarily activate what he would call the wise elder, healer, or guide archetype in your interactions with others. Have you noticed how people instinctively come to you for advice, even when you hold no formal authority, how you're expected to have answers, to know the way forward, to help others make sense of their struggles? This isn't about your credentials. It's about your energetic signature. The moment you realize you've been unconsciously cast in these roles, you understand something essential. Your aura naturally emanates qualities that others associate with wisdom and healing capacity. What if I told you this happens because your powerful energy field naturally stabilizes others' psychological chaos simply through presence? The truth is, exceptional auras often function as what Jung might call compensatory factors in group psychology, unconsciously balancing collective energetic deficits through your mere participation. Ask yourself, how often do you find yourself listening to others' problems without soliciting these confidences? How frequently are you placed in positions of guidance or emotional support without seeking these roles? This isn't coincidence. It's unconscious archetypal recognition, others sensing in your energy field qualities their psyches recognize as healing or stabilizing. Jung coined the term synchronicity to describe a causal connecting principles, meaningful coincidences that cannot be explained by conventional cause and effect, but reveal deeper patterns connecting psyche and world. That book that falls open to exactly the page you needed to read. That person who calls just as you think of them. That symbol that keeps appearing in different contexts. That solution that arrives precisely when you need it. When your aura operates at exceptional frequencies, you experience what Jung would describe as an unusually permeable boundary between your conscious intentions and the collective unconscious field, creating ripple effects that manifest as synchronistic events. What if I told you these aren't random coincidences but the natural consequence of your powerful energy field interacting with the deeper patterns of reality? The truth is, strong auras create what Jung might call meaningful arrangements in the field of possibility, constellating circumstances and encounters that reflect your inner psychological state. Ask yourself, how often do you experience chains of meaningful coincidences that others dismiss as random? How frequently do you find exactly what you need appearing just as you need it? This isn't magical thinking. It's what Jung would recognize as evidence of your unusually strong connection to the ordering principles of the collective unconscious. Jung understood that groups operate according to unconscious principles beyond individual awareness. When your aura carries exceptional strength, you unintentionally influence collective fields in significant ways. Have you noticed how conversations shift when you enter a room? How group emotional tones change in response to your presence? How conflicts either intensify or resolve depending on how you position yourself? This isn't about charisma in the conventional sense. It's about energetic impact. The moment you realize groups are unconsciously organizing themselves around your energy, you're recognizing what Jung might call your function as an unconscious regulator, someone whose psychological field naturally influences collective dynamics. What if I told you that your mere presence serves as what Jung might call a ordering principle in group psychology, a force that others unconsciously respond to, organize around, and are influenced by? The truth is, powerful auras function as what could be called psychic magnets. that invisibly rearrange the psychological furniture in any room they enter. Ask yourself, how often have you noticed group conversations naturally directing themselves toward you, even when you haven't spoken? How frequently have you watched conflicts resolve or intensify simply based on your silent presence? This isn't egotism, it's unconscious energetic influence, your aura creating what Jung would recognize as a field effect that alters interpersonal dynamics without conscious intention. Jung recognized that emotions are not merely personal experiences, but energetic phenomena that can transmit between people through unconscious channels. Have you noticed how your unexpressed anger creates tension in a room? How your hidden sadness somehow dampens others' moods? How your unspoken enthusiasm mysteriously energizes those around you? What if I told you that emotional containment doesn't actually prevent emotional transmission when your aura is exceptionally powerful? The truth is, strong energy fields function as what Jung might call emotional broadcasters, transmitting your psychological states into the collective field regardless of how carefully you attempt to mask them. The moment you realize others are responding to emotions you haven't expressed, you're experiencing what Jung would consider evidence of unconscious emotional contagion, the direct transmission of feeling states beyond verbal or visual cues. This isn't about being emotionally manipulative, it's about having an unusually strong emotional field that naturally affects the psychological environment around you. Ask yourself, how often have people asked what's wrong when you've told no one about your troubles? How frequently have others mirrored back to you emotional states you thought you were keeping private? This isn't their imagination, it's your emotional radiation, your powerful aura making what Jung would call direct impressions on others' emotional systems without conscious communication. Jung extensively explored the frontier between ordinary consciousness and extraordinary perception, recognizing that some individuals naturally access states of awareness beyond conventional boundaries. Those flashes of seeing energy around people, those moments of perceiving patterns underlying seemingly random events, those experiences of sensing presences or consciousness in unexpected places, those instances of knowing information without knowing how you know it, these experiences suggest what Jung might call an unusually thin psychic membrane between ordinary perception and expanded awareness, a natural consequence of an exceptionally powerful aura. What if I told you these perceptual anomalies aren't imagination but glimpses through the conventional filters that normally limit human awareness? The truth is, powerful energy fields often correlate with what Jung would describe as expanded perceptual capacities, occasional access to information beyond the limits of the 5 conventional senses. This isn't about hallucination. It's about perception that includes both visible and invisible aspects of reality. Ask yourself, how often do you perceive subtleties others miss? How frequently do you sense atmospheres, energies, or presences that others don't acknowledge? These experiences suggest your aura's unusual power creates what Jung might consider a naturally expanded field of awareness, perception that extends beyond conventional boundaries into the archetypal and energetic dimensions of existence. Jung considered dreams and visions direct communications from the unconscious, revealing symbolic material essential for psychological integration and wholeness. Those vivid, complex dreams that stay with you for days, those spontaneous waking visions that carry symbolic significance, those intuitive flashes that deliver fully formed insights, those recurring symbols or themes that appear across different contexts. When your aura operates at exceptional frequencies, you experience what Jung would describe as unusually direct access to unconscious content, a more permeable boundary between waking consciousness and the deeper layers of the psyche. What if I told you these intense inner experiences aren't random mental activity but meaningful communications from parts of yourself seeking integration? The moment you realize your dreams and intuitions consistently deliver valuable information, you're recognizing what Jung would call your natural capacity for active imagination, direct engagement with the symbolic language of the unconscious. The truth is, powerful auras often correspond with what could be called heightened symbolic fluency, an increased ability to receive and decode meaningful psychological content from beyond the conscious mind. Ask yourself, how regularly do your dreams contain guidance that proves relevant to your waking life? How often do you receive intuitive insights that turn out to be accurate? This isn't fantasy. It's enhanced unconscious communication. Your powerful energy field creating what Jung would recognize as a more dynamic relationship between conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche. Jung recognized that psychological growth often requires passages through darkness, confrontations with shadow material that initiate deeper integration and wholeness. Those periods of intense questioning everything you thought you knew, those dark nights of the soul that felt like psychological death, those crises that seemed to dismantle your very identity, those subsequent breakthroughs that fundamentally changed how you experience reality. What if I told you these weren't breakdowns but necessary breakthroughs? Your powerful psychic energy breaking through calcified psychological structures that could no longer contain your authentic self. The truth is, exceptional auras often require what Jung would call initiatory crises, psychological passages that destroy outmoded aspects of the self to make room for more authentic expression. The moment you realize your most painful psychological experiences have been your most transformative, you're recognizing what Jung described as the essential pattern of individuation, dying to who you thought you were to become who you truly are. Ask yourself, how often have your periods of greatest suffering preceded your most significant growth? How frequently have psychological crises delivered you to new levels of understanding and authenticity? This isn't coincidental. It's the necessary path of integrating exceptional psychic energy, your powerful aura creating what Jung might call constructive pressure for psychological evolution beyond conventional boundaries. Now that we've explored these 13 signs, the question becomes, how do you live effectively with an aura too powerful for most people to handle? Jung would emphasize the path of conscious integration, bringing awareness to these dynamics rather than being unconsciously controlled by them. The first step is recognition. Acknowledging your energetic difference isn't arrogance, it's psychological honesty. By accepting the reality of your powerful aura, you begin the process Jung would call conscious differentiation, understanding your unique psychological makeup without denial or inflation. The second step is responsibility. Your powerful energy field affects others whether you intend it to or not. Jung would emphasize the ethical dimension of this reality, the necessity of developing what he might call energetic stewardship, conscious management of how your presence impacts collective spaces. This means developing awareness of your emotional states and their effects, learning to modulate your energy in different contexts, creating healthy boundaries that protect both yourself and others, recognizing when to step back to allow others their own process, understanding when to step forward to provide needed stabilization. The third step is integration. Jung's concept of individuation ultimately leads to what he called the self, the integrated whole of personality that transcends and includes all aspects, both conscious and unconscious. For those with powerful auras, this integration is both more challenging and more necessary. Your exceptional energy requires what Jung might call expanded psychological containers, more comprehensive internal structures to hold and express your full authentic nature. What if I told you that your powerful aura isn't a burden but a gift, not just for you but for a world desperately in need of authentic integrated consciousness? The truth is, Jung recognized that psychological evolution depends on precisely what you embody. Individuals willing to consciously carry and integrate exceptional psychic energy in service of both personal and collective transformation. Ask yourself, what if the very qualities that make you sometimes overwhelming to others are exactly what's needed in these overwhelming times? This isn't spiritual bypass, it's psychological perspective, recognizing that what Jung called the self in you serves essential functions in the collective psyche. Carl Jung understood that consciousness evolves through individuals willing to carry what he called creative tension, the dynamic interplay between opposing forces that generates new psychological possibilities. Your powerful aura represents precisely this creative tension, energy too potent to fit comfortably within conventional structures, yet necessary for the evolution of those very structures. The discomfort you sometimes create? the intensity others sometimes cannot handle, the catalyst for change you often become without trying. These aren't flaws to fix but functions to consciously embody. When you fully accept both the responsibility and the gift of your powerful aura, you step into what Jung would describe as your authentic individuation, becoming exactly who you are meant to be, regardless of who others expect you to be. The moment you realize your differentness is purposeful, everything shifts. What once felt like isolation becomes purposeful distinction. What once seemed like a burden becomes conscious service. This isn't about specialness in the egoic sense. It's about specific function in the psychological ecosystem. Ask yourself, what becomes possible when you stop diminishing your light to make others comfortable, and instead learn to shine it in ways that illuminate rather than blind? The path forward isn't about reducing your power but refining it, developing what Jung might call conscious luminosity, the ability to express your full authentic energy in ways that catalyze rather than overwhelm. This journey of integrating your powerful aura is the first step toward what Jung considered the ultimate goal of psychological development, becoming a conscious participant in the evolution of the collective psyche. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to transform. Not by force, but by presence. Not through demand, but through embodiment. Not by diminishing yourself, but by fully becoming yourself. The world doesn't need more conformity. It needs more fully individuated consciousness. It needs the very energy you've been trying to contain. Set yourself free, and in doing so, help free us all. If this exploration of powerful auras through Jung's psychological framework has illuminated something in your own experience, I invite you to continue the journey. Subscribe to this channel for more deep dives into the hidden dynamics of consciousness, and share in the comments how these 13 signs might reflect your own experience. Because the most powerful realization of all might be this: you're different, but you're not alone.